Hi. Okay. So there's this actor, kid. Well, he's an adult. He's 18. That's going to testify on Tuesday. For, I guess they're trying to do federal mandates to mandate vaccines. And when I first heard the story, well, the story is he's this kid, or this 18-year-old now, that is going to get up to date on his vaccination against his parents' wishes because, he was raised in an anti-vax household, and he's claiming that his parents put him at risk. Now, I kind of believed it at first because I was like, oh, well, maybe he's 18. He's probably just rebelling against his parents. Maybe his parents are dicks and, he's just doing this to get back at him. But then I saw the interview with him and his mom. I was like, no way. This is straight out of Central Casting. She's like the stereotypical hippie mom, and he's like the nerdy guy, because obviously he can read and she can't. And he's saying stuff like, oh, my parents are kind of stupid, guys. Help me out. Like, writing on the message boards. I don't know. Like, where should I get up to date on my vaccinations? Like, you're 18 and you don't know where you can go up to get your vaccinations. Like, what? Okay, so, and then the mom is like, well, I'm really proud of him because he's using his own mind and he did his own research. I was like, that's some bullshit if I ever heard some. Because, the anti-vaccine families that I know, first of all, they're usually highly educated. What happens, like, lower income families that are under-vaccinated are usually undereducated. So the undereducated are usually under-vaccinated, and the highly educated are usually the ones that choose not to vaccinate their children. They usually have college degrees or PhDs. A lot of them are in the medical field. I have a friend that's a nurse, and she has 4 kids. Her first kid had a bad reaction, and then she started doing research into it, and then she also combined that with the experiences that she was seeing from the reactions she saw with her patients. And then she was like, her nurse was like, no. So she has 4 kids. 3 of them are unvaccinated. They're all completely healthy. And the other one, the first one that was vaccinated, is the only one that has like allergies or something like that. She didn't have a lot of vaccines, so she's not so bad, but she's the least healthy out of the ones who were unvaccinated. And all my friends that have kind of gone through that journey now, because I know a lot of families, their kids are pretty well educated on the dangers of vaccines, and they're pretty healthy, and they're pretty grateful that their parents didn't vaccinate them. So when I saw the mom, and I don't think the mom that's worked so hard, because it's a struggle with this whole system, like trying to keep your kid unvaccinated. So I just don't see how she's just going to be like, oh yeah, that's really, well, he's an adult now, so and which is true, and he has a right to do that if he wants to. The thing I just have the problem is, and the reason I've been getting so hardcore with this lately, is that now they're trying to push this whole like herd immunity farce and saying that we're putting everybody in danger, which that is not true. And they're doing this, they're creating this chasm between people so we can fight against each other. Because before, when people didn't unvaccinate their children, it was like, well, that's kind of weird, but whatever, But now it's like become this life or death, situation thanks to the pharmaceutical industry and then just spreading this whole myth that was based upon natural immunity. And I know this because this is like 30 years before the measles. The whole theory of herd immunity was based on natural immunity because the measles vaccine wasn't even invented yet, okay? It was based on the measles, and the measles vaccine was invented 30 years later, I repeat. So herd immunity does not apply to natural immunity, and there's this whole thing about the vaccine. A lot of the outbreak, or all the outbreaks that happen, that they're all mostly vaccinated, fully vaccinated or vaccinated. So if they're working, then there's so much documentation to support the not even like theory, but it's a reality of shedding, like people finding scientists finding urine specimens and urines and feces after that were the vaccine, because they can trace, if they have a vaccine type, they can trace it back to the vaccine. So the vaccine type of measles or whatever virus they make the vaccine, what am I trying to say? The strain, they can trace it back to the vaccine strain. So they're finding this in people's, urine and feces. They've been tracing outbreaks. They have traced outbreaks to the vaccinated, and they just basically, there are people that have kept some records of it, but they don't mention that in the mainstream media. So when you have, like, you know, CNN, of course, our favorite, and other news organizations, they don't really give you the raw data, right? They just give you the interpretation of the data, right? And they'll just say, oh, it's because of the anti-vaxxers. They don't tell you, like, the real deal. So everybody's like, oh no, you're gonna get, you know, everybody needs to get vaccinated now because the measles plague is gonna come back, you know, and kill us all. So what's happening is, I think they're basically just gonna pass it. They're banning everybody now. They're not letting people speak. They're, you know, I've been watching some of the hearings and stuff. It's all pro-vax, no anti-vax side. They basically made their mind up before you know, the bills even came out. They made their mind up of what they're going to do because they're paid off by lobbyists. People like the pharmaceutical industry outspends the oil lobby 2 to 1. I've seen this before when they passed SB 277. They had a rally. They censored a show on NPR where they had a researcher come on and talk about the dangers of vaccines, and he did such a good job that they censored the show. They pulled the show 2 days before they had the hearing. They had the hearing. 50 people showed up in support of the bill. 700 people showed up in opposition of the bill, and they passed it anyway. And among those 700 people were doctors and health professionals that were speaking against taking away the philosophical exemption, and they did it anyway. Okay, so this is also why you have a lot of people that are apathetic to voting because they don't feel like their vote matters. You know, I just think that some shit's gonna have to hit the fan because now, you know, it's you know, they're censoring us. They're gonna pass this mandatory. If they do pass it, I'm trying not to be all gloom and doom. I mean, like, we're winning because they can't win with their information. So it's gonna wake a lot of people up because a lot of people are seeing how salty it is and how they're just forcing this upon everybody. So that's a good thing. But now, I mean, I'm glad I don't have kids. It's just gonna be harder, you know, and more people are just gonna have to get hurt, I guess, until they wake up and realize, like, what's going on, which I've been trying to prevent these past few years. And, like, I didn't want to be right about this, but even when it happened in California, you know, I was posting a lot of stuff on my wall about this, and like, I saw this coming, and now I have friends, and they're coming to me, and they're like, oh, what do I do? I was like, well, I told you, I tried to tell you before, like, I don't, like, you should homeschool. But how many people can afford to do that, you know? But then they're gonna come after the homeschoolers too. So, I mean, you guys just get ready because we're in for the fight of our lives, because they're gonna force this on us whether we want it or not. And just because you don't have kids doesn't mean you're not going to be affected. You know, that Argentina just passed this law where you can't travel or get your driver's license renewed unless you get vaccinated. So, I mean, hey, do you want to be injected with poisons that can give you cancer and autoimmune diseases and possibly your children autism? Or you know, do you want to live life? Like, what, you know, I mean, all these people that are all scared and be like, because afraid to, like, talk because they're afraid their friends aren't going to like them anymore. Well, you better start talking. It's either that or, you know, you get people up to this information, you know. I mean, am I right or am I wrong? Are there people that are watching this video and they know that they're scared and you know, they don't have the guts to be honest about this stuff? I don't know. I don't know what situation they're in. I don't know if they have a job and they have to keep quiet because of their job or whatever. I understand if people have families and they have a job. But if it really is you and you're just scared of what people are going to think for you, like, I have really no sympathy for that. Like, I don't. You know, I mean, I've gone through it. It sucks. Yeah, you're probably going to lose friends or you might get people mad at you. But I think if you can present information clearly, maybe some people will listen to you. I've lost some friends, but I've also been able to convince some friends as well. So I've had at least 2 people. One is spreading vaccines out. I'm like, that. I don't think that really does anything, but she's spreading them out. And I have another one that's just like, hell to the no. Like, she read all the information I gave her, and then she actually did some more research on her own, and she's like, no vaccines, no. And she called me the other day and we were talking, and she was talking about how her son is like 2 or 3 now, and she's just like, oh my God, everybody's always saying how smart he is and how articulate he is. And she's like, I'm looking at all these kids, and I know a lot of them have vaccines, and she works at a school, and she's trying to open up her own school, and she's just like, a lot of these kids seem like they're slower. And that's the same thing with my friend who's a nurse, who her kids are amazing. They're really bright and energetic and super healthy and smart. And everybody's always telling her that her kids are just phenomenal. And she was just like, I hate to sound ungrateful, but I'm just kind of, she goes, it kind of makes me sad. She goes, really? Like, why are there so many people that are like telling me this about my kids? It should be like that for everybody. Like, why is this an issue? So I don't believe that lying little, well, he's an adult now, so people are like, oh, he's a kid. No, he's old enough to get his shots and to lie. And so I think I'm old, you know, he's old enough to hear people call him out on it. So anyway, you know, and they don't even act like, they don't even care about the people that are vaccine injured. They're just like invisible, right? They don't just care, oh, vaccines save lives. That's very rare. That never happens. Oh, excuse me, is rare a number? Is it a number? Please give me the number of rare. I would like to see it, because a lot of people are injured because they have autoimmune disorders and stuff. A lot of people aren't, you know, trained to recognize injury right away. So, you know, unless it's really severe, a lot of people are being affected by this. So I don't know. I think they're just going to do whatever they want and just pass it. And then we're just going to have to hope and pray and, you know, see what happens after that. Because a lot of people, like I said, I don't know. I think we're winning in that sense, in a sense. But a lot of people are also just, I don't know. I think there's going to have to be some kind of an uprising or something, you know, whether it's like a huge protest. I'm not suggesting people get violent, but, you know, forcing vaccines on people without their consent is violence, or without their willingness to get vaccinated is violence. So are you going to let somebody, you know, inject poisons into you without your you know, will? What are you going to do? I don't know. All right, guys, so that's it. Peace, truth, love. Talk to you later. Bye. Mwah.